Welcome to Watch Me Go Broke. How many times have you heard somebody say, "You lost me at Parnis"? Maybe, maybe not. Parnis just isn't known for making exact copies of famous watches by stealing tried and true designs. Oh, no, 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 no. Well, I mean, that's about 99% of what they do, but what if I told you they created their own 200-meter diver, and they didn't even really steal that much? Just the bezel, the hands, and the dial. But besides that, it's their own design. Let's awkwardly bend over a table and take a look. Okay guys, in the intro I said Parnis stole some of their designs. What I really should say is call it extreme borrowing. Okay, first things first, on my wrist today is going to be the new Seiko 5 Stealth model. I mentioned in my review of this particular watch that the bezel insert was messed up when I got it, so I had this one lying around the house. Threw it on there, and I think it looks amazing. Now, don't blast me in the comments that I ruined the stealth look. I'm well aware of that, and I've got it on a Casio Duro resin strap. It's very comfortable. And there is today's watch, the Parnis 200-meter diver. You're going to look at a 43-millimeter case, a thickness of 13 millimeters, lug to lug of 51, so pretty big. 23 millimeter lug width, tapering down to 18.5 at the clasp, back up to 20 at the clasp. You've got a 90 click unidirectional bezel, although I did count 92 clicks on this one for some reason. Bezel action is reasonable, pretty ratchety, and easy to turn. If you're looking to pick one of these up, I would recommend getting it off of eBay. I think the prices are a bit better than on Parnis's website, if they even sell them anymore. I did kind of a quick search on the website, and I did have a little bit of difficulty trying to find the watch on there, but some of these eBay guys are authorized dealers, I guess you could call them, so it's something to definitely check out. I think you're going to get a better price on eBay. This bad boy is going to be powered by the Miyota 8215 movement. It does not hack, but it does hand wind, beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. So the case is going to be pretty much all brushed with the exception of the bezel, a little bit of polishing on the bezel, and on the signed crown with the Parnis P. The bracelet is a pretty substantial bracelet. It feels good, it feels heavy. It is a friction pin bezel with a fold-over scissor clasp that is actually quite an upgrade from the traditional clasps that Parnis uses. Those are kind of wonky and weird-shaped and somewhat uncomfortable. This one has 3 micro adjustments, and the Parnis logo stamped into the back. Case back is polished. There are quite a bit of scratches on there. I did purchase this pre-owned. You've got stainless steel, sapphire crystal, water resistant, 200 meters, automatic movement. The reference number of this watch is the PA6007. Screw down crown as well. Now on the dial, you can see there are some heavy borrowing moments with the wave dial, reminiscent of the Omega Seamaster 300M wave dial, and you've got the Omega Proploff hands. The indices are applied. I don't really see too much heavy borrowing with those. They are set, inlaid in the chapter ring that goes around the dial. Parnis logo at the 12 o'clock and at the 6 o'clock automatic, 200 meters of water resistance. The 200M is done in red, and it is a bit raised above the regular printing, which I think is a pretty interesting touch. The bezel is going to be ceramic with a reasonable attempt to make it look like platinum that you would find on the Rolex Submariner, the ceramic Submariner bezels. It's a little more gray looking than you would find on those, but I think that's pretty neat looking for what you're getting with this. So that loom pip is raised up quite a distance off the ceramic bezel, and it is a rip-off risk. I don't know why I always go on and on about loom pips ripping off. I just think whenever that happens, it kind of destroys the look of the watch. And then if you're lucky enough to find it, you know, I would super glue them back in, and then you get kind of glue on the bezel insert, and it just never really looks as good as it did before. I might show you one I did in a future video, but yeah, I don't know. I just try to be a little bit careful with banging this watch off anything for sure. Sapphire crystal, no real anti-reflective coating on it, as you can see. What time is it? Oh my goodness, I can't see. Now, this Miyota 8215 movement is one of the rotor noisy ones. Let me give it a little shake here. I don't know if you can hear that, but the rotor does spin quite a bit. The watch vibrates, and I don't know. A lot of people don't like that. I actually kind of think it's cool to hear the rotor going. At least you know it's not jammed up. So what do I like about this watch? Well, I do like Parnis watches. I think they, value for money wise, they're pretty good, even though, you know, there's some questionable design techniques, you know, on whether what they're doing is actually like, you know, a good thing or a bad thing, depending on what your opinion of homage watches are. I would say those kind of tread into the almost exact copy territories, although a lot of them don't have any water resistance whatsoever. Now, this one does have 200 meters. So I like that. I like that it's, you know, relatively their own design, especially with the case and the bracelet. I like the bezel action. It's pretty good. And I said I counted 92. I counted the, you know, 15-second markers here, and it came up to, I think it was like 23 or something, but it actually did round up to 90 once you got back to the 60 clicks. So at some point around this bezel, you're going to get an extra 2 clicks that are made up at the end. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but as far as diving complication, I don't know if that would really make a difference at all. I like what you're getting with the sapphire crystal. I like the dial. I think it's pretty interesting looking, even though it does heavily borrow from Omega. I like the weight of the watch. I think the weight is really good for being a big watch. It's not light, it's heavy. I mean, you're getting a good chunk of metal on your wrist for sure. I think the clasp is really quite good, even though it doesn't have a fold over for extra security. This clasp is much, much better than what is on your traditional Parnis watch. If I have a shot, I'll throw one up here. But I like that it sits almost flush to the bracelet, so you don't have a protruding clasp, and it sits actually quite comfortable on the wrist. And if you notice, it doesn't really jut out or anything, so it's very comfortable. This is a solid bracelet, very little play. I like how the lugs curve down. It's 51 millimeters lug to lug, so it's a substantially big watch. But this curving actually takes off. Well, let me see if I can measure that right quick to see where we are at. If it tapers down like that. Yeah, so it wears, let me see, it wears about like a 45 instead of a 51, because I measured the 51 up here, as you can see right there. Let's see if I can get it right. Oh, that's 52. Yeah, 51 and a half. So the lugs curving down like that does make this watch wear much smaller than its size. So what do I not like about this watch? Well, I would have liked to have a 120 click unidirectional bezel for sure. The loom on the watch is not great. Let me throw up a loom shot right now. As you can see, you've got a little bit on the hands. The indices have nothing on them, and the loom pip has some. So pretty much worthless Loom 23mm lug width. What in the world is that? I don't understand that choice at all. Good luck finding a NATO strap that's going to fit properly, because I doubt you're going to ever find a 23mm NATO strap. The lugs, they do look big. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you got a 43mm watch, I think 22mm lugs is fine. You could even go with 20 if you wanted to. I'm not sure what the design choice was with that. Polished center links on a tool watch like this, I'm not a fan at all. I wish they were brushed. I think if they were brushed, it would make a huge difference in the attractiveness of this watch. I just don't understand that design choice. And polished center links, never really been a huge fan. They scratch up very easily, you know, fairly easy to polish out, but it's just, I'd rather the whole thing be brushed for sure. The movement is okay. It's pretty reliable. It would have been nice to have some hacking in there for sure. I think it's a fine movement for the watch, but maybe an NH35 would have been something that they could have looked at. Not anything to write home about. At least they didn't put the DG2813 in there. Whew, boy, that would have been a mistake, I think. But I think for what you're getting with this watch, I think it's a cool watch. I think it looks great. I love the platinum-ish style ceramic bezel. I think that looks really good. So there it is on my 7¼ inch wrist. It is a big watch, you know, 13 mil thick. You're gonna feel this thing on your wrist. It's very, very heavy as well. I think if you notice the bracelet, you can see where the clasp pretty much meets up with the bracelet, so where it's very flush with it. I think that looks good, and I think it's a good idea maybe to pick one of these up, especially if you're unsure about Parnis or really haven't liked them in the past. I think this watch possibly could change your mind. Well, there you go, the Parnis 200m diver. It's a pretty good watch and a fairly original design for the money. So until next time, I'm going to leave you with some advice that my grandfather gave me when I was dealing with a bully in school. He said, he didn't slam you, he didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you. He rubbed you. And rubbing, son, is racing. Or maybe I saw that in a movie.